the first steps toward joy. Once you've won the battle with your storm that frees you from your past, you allow yourself to uncover your passions, build and unleash your superpowers, and find joy in your life. Welcome to my show, Resetting Your Life. My name is Ned Lips. I'm the author of Reset, a story about Sarah's journey from hell to hero, from fearful to utterly fearless, in a world where everything man-made has been removed from the face of the earth. And First Steps, in which Sarah escapes from her brutal, abusive marriage, narrowly getting away with her life and her 2 daughters. My third book, Entwined, continues Sarah's journey to trust and to love as she moves the family forward in a world dominated by pure nature. You can find them on Amazon by searching Ned Lips, N-E-D-L-I-P-S, or through my website, nedlips.com. We spent a lot of time talking about escaping your past. And if you've missed it, go back and watch the other podcasts. In order to build that foundation. If you don't truly free yourself from your past, then finding your passions and moving forward is very difficult. You also have to get to a point where you're comfortable connecting to your soul, to yourself, so that you know which way you want to go. Once you realize that you freed your own demons, fears, and your anger and your guilt, there is a sense of release, of momentary joy. This is the beginning of your process of finding your passions and harnessing your superpowers. You likely have not forgiven yourself entirely for everything that's happened in your past, and you certainly haven't forgotten it all, but you now know that you can move forward in your life and that your future does not depend or isn't held hostage by your past mistakes or even successes. Sarah battles the living storm in Reset. The storm uses her own past, her trauma, her background to try and break her. She uses her strengths and love to win. From the battle, she finds that she has new spiritual superpowers. Based in nature, though she has no idea at this point how to use them. When the storm battle is won, she experiences victory and revels in it. This is from Reset, page 17.
The energy of the battle she had won settled inside her, releasing joy, ecstasy, and even an encompassing physical bliss that reached to every cell in her body like nothing she'd ever felt. Joy beyond joy. The spirits of the animals danced with her soul. They were hers.
So now what? I'm freed of my past. I've talked to people. I've spilled my guts out. I've cried. I've let it all that baggage flow out into the universe. At least to the point where I know it doesn't dictate my future anymore. I'm connected to my concept of God by listening to my heart of hearts, my soul, that voice that's always right, and I now trust it. I no longer ignore it, and I do what it asks. As close and as always as I can. And no one's perfect, they screw that up all the time. I do what I know is truly right for me, no matter what anyone else says. So passions. What the heck are passions? We'll spend the next couple of podcasts talking about what your passions are, because it's a difficult step for most people. We like to do a lot of different things. How do I know what I'm deeply passionate about? The first piece of advice I've always given is to be real with yourself. Sarah finally gets real with herself in Entwined. It's a bit different context, but it's a different sort of passion, but it's the same kind of revelation.
No one tricking you or me into love. Our souls are intertwined so tightly that we almost feel like one. He tilted her chin up and gazed deeply into her eyes. At least, I feel that way. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she melted into him and sighed. I do feel that way. I need to trust it's right this time. I've put a lot of trust into things that turned out to be horrible lies in my life. As he wiped the tears from her cheeks, she beamed, staring into those bright blue eyes, and said with more conviction than she'd ever said it, I love you, Tom. I do. I love you too, Sarah.
Some people know what they're passionate about. They've known for years, and probably their entire lives. They've never pursued that passion, other than in hobby form, because, well, that's just crazy. I've known I wanted to write stories, novels, really forever, as long as I can remember. I didn't necessarily know very much about what that meant. But who in their right mind writes books for a living? I had a family. I wanted a family early on. I eventually had children. In my mind, I didn't have any ability to leave what I was doing and do what I was deeply passionate about. I get that. But seriously, I want you to get a journal. Get yourself a notebook. It can be electronic, on your phone, on a tablet, whatever. Whatever works for you, listen to yourself in life and write things down. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a big old diary. It doesn't have to be a lot of information. What do you love? I did this thing that was cool. Write it down. What do you hate? I did this thing. It was horrible. Write it down. Short, quick, just get the data on the paper or on your tablet. I like to walk in the park on a nice warm day, but I don't like to get my feet wet. And I don't like rainy days, and I don't like cold days, and I don't really like ducks very much. So maybe one of the things that we're looking at in our future is not working outdoors all the time, but maybe a little bit. But probably that's just an indicator of a nice thing you like to do. Hopefully you're doing this while your life is good enough. And we talked about that several podcasts ago, so you may want to check that out. But you have a little bit of time. If not, and you're in a total disaster, and this is an emergency situation, then weekly podcasts may or may not work for you. So you may want to find a coach or someone who can help you through this faster, and we've had several on. Ask yourself this question. When I have complete control of my time, and I am not totally exhausted from all the rest of the stuff of my life, what do I do? And if I don't actually do that, what would I really, really like to do? Too many of us feel guilty when we have free time that we should be doing something, and so we go do something. Take a minute, think about what you'd really love to do, and start doing that. Try not to answer retire on the beach and enjoy my life, because the reality is that's going to get old and it's not really what you're ready for. Ask your spouse, ask your best friend, ask your closest sibling, your mother, your father, people that are near to you. Get their opinions on you. They might be right, but you'd be surprised by how well they know the real you. They know what you jabber on about for no reason. They know what you always want to do, even if they don't want to. They know what you hate to do and refuse to do. They know what kind of movies you like. They know what kind of things you like to do. So they've been with you. They know what you like to do on vacation and where you like to go. Ask them, listen. Listen for truths that ring through to you. Write them down. Write them in your journaling. When you're alone and working on yourself, ask, what sort of things do I do as hobbies? And what are my interests? What movies do I like? What TV shows do I watch? What articles or magazines do I read? What kind of books do I like? Write all this stuff down. Then look at the important things you do in your life. What aspects of your current job do you love? What do you like? What do you hate? What do you wish you didn't have to do? Make a list. Similarly, do that for your home life or any other setting that you find yourself in a great deal. But don't just write meetings, because you probably like some meetings and you hate other meetings. So be specific. What ones do you like? I like the ones that I run. What ones do you not like? I like the ones that somebody else is running them. Whatever it is. Do this with your past jobs. What did I like about that old job? What didn't I like? Do this with your home life and other things. The idea is to get some data about who you are. Once the lists are completed, begin to look for similarities. When I decided that my passion was to become a novelist, I, like you, was unsure. I did all that journaling stuff and I decided to give it a try. I tested out my theory. At first, I attended a writer's meetup, and then a publisher's meeting, and then a writer's guild meeting, and then I went to a writer's convention, and then I babbled out my first 200,000 plus word version of what currently is Reset and these other books. And eventually I worked with an editor, and he helped me with that. I had other people read it. I went to critique groups, but I immersed myself in what I thought I really wanted to do. And I found that each of those things was every bit as fascinating and wonderful as the writing process. And I realized this is my passion. This is what brings me joy. This is what makes me excited. And as time passed, and this is well over 3 years, I became more ensconced, engrossed, and excited about it. So I hope that you can use these processes to begin to follow your passions and find your passions, and then eventually we'll talk about how to find deeper ones. I'm very excited to have with me on our podcast today Antoinette Ayers. She is a coach who helps people find out how wonderful they are and help them find their passions. Antoinette, you want to tell us a little bit about your company, what's it called, and where can they find you, and what do you do for people?
Yes. Thank you, Ned, for having me. My name is Antoinette Ayers, and I am a coach. My coaching practice is visualmovements.com, and it's where I discover people's gifts and I help them channel what it is that they're called to do. Mm-hmm. I've been doing that now for the past 8 years, and so now it's just becoming more of a business for me and more of a practice, and it brings me happiness as well.
There you go. It's amazing how often following your passion brings you joy.
Yeah.
So before you started doing this, what were you doing?
I was a hairstylist for legally 13 years, but I have been doing it since I was in high school. And so I just get in the connection with the women, learning their family history, growing up with them and their children. And it was just time for me I knew there was more to life than me just being a hairstylist.
So as a hairstylist, did you begin the process of coaching these folks as they sat there and you had them confined below you?
Yes, that's exactly how it got started. Like, people were coming to me with so many problems and so many issues, and they were just dumping it on me.
All right.
And I became a bootleg counselor.
Bootleg counselor, that's perfect.
I became a bootleg counselor, and I found like, hey, maybe there's more to this than just doing hair. Because if I'm that good at listening and really listening to your issues, maybe we can find out that it's more to you than it is your problems.
Right.
So
much of the world's problems get solved in hair salons, barbershops, places like that, right?
Yep.
And I guess bars and saloons. But,
yep.
So tell us how you work with somebody. Somebody comes in and they want to have a conversation with you. And how do you help them along that path?
Okay, so first what I do have an assessment that you go through. And through the assessment is a question of 25 questions.
Okay.
And we find out what it is that you'd like to do based off your answers.
Cool.
And so we sit down and we do what you call a vision board. I know that's real popular now.
Yeah,
you should
sure.
know about that. So that's how I actually started. I was vision board party hosting for
a
a long time. So I implement the same thing over here in my coaching lifestyle because it still helps us give a visual insight of where we want to be.
Right.
And so I sit down and we actually work out a vision board for the year and we plan it out.
Wonderful.
And I have 5 principles that I use for that to help you gather your life all on one board so you can visualize
Right.
for the whole year.
Very cool. Big supporter of vision boards, me right here.
Yes.
So why do vision boards work? Because they do.
Yes.
Yes, I know
they do. Like,
Yeah.
they are amazing.
Right.
And they work because it's you manifesting your thoughts out loud on paper where you can see them.
Right.
Because oftentimes we have things in the inside of us and we're always thinking of things. But we're so up and down and so emotional creatures where we literally have a million thoughts running through our head a minute.
Yeah.
But when you get focused on your life, you have to actually look at it and say, this is where I want to go. And vision boards help you map out where you would like to go.
Right.
So you see it and you keep your mind focused on it. If you want to go to Africa, I'm going to get to Africa. I'm going to get to Africa. I'm going to get to Africa. By the way, it's on my vision board.
There you go.
So I'm still saying
this
that.
is lucky. My mom has been to Africa like 20-something times. She
What?
takes people on photograph safaris to Africa. So I'll connect you.
Yes, Mom.
So there you go. See, it's funny how you put it on a vision board and then you sit down on a
Yes.
podcast and all of a sudden
That's how
you've
it
got
works.
a connection. Anyway,
That's how it works.
so tell me how do you help somebody put a vision board together?
Okay. So what I use is the 5 principles. I go by, first we're going to talk about, we do small goals per month.
Small goals per month.
Per month. One small goal per month. And it's very simple.
Do you start with a vision for the end of the year and work in goals up to that, or do you start right at that small goal stage?
We start at the small goal stage.
Okay.
And then we build.
Right.
So we want you to focus on one small goal a month for the year.
That's a good idea.
For
Yeah.
yourself.
Uh-huh.
It's not for anybody else.
Right.
It's simply for yourself.
Right.
And the one small goal could be going to a new restaurant.
There you go.
Something simple, something
Right.
you've never tried before. Because along with Vision Board, you're also exploring who you are.
Right.
And so when you do that, you're opening up yourself to explore new possibilities, new
Right.
things, and new experience. Because that's what a Vision Board helps you do.
Right. And so then you begin to say, I really liked that.
Yeah.
I really didn't like that.
Yeah.
Right.
You start to see. And so we start off with those goals. And then as those goals progress and you start completing a list, now we come back to our vision board. And you have a point in the vision board where you will talk about finances.
Right.
So one of your vision board is finances, strictly finances.
Okay.
You want to build your credit up.
Right.
Let's put the score on where you want your credit to go. Let's put how much you want in your savings.
Right.
Let's put that on the board.
Right.
Let's put or you want to take a financial course. Let's put that on the board.
Right.
So we stick with those, but within a year, you have to do something within that section of your board for your vision board.
Right.
Because that puts the puzzles that you're trying to put together in your life.
Right.
I have other sections. My other section is education.
Right.
You should always be investing in your education. Not necessarily going back to school, but if you know that you want to learn about investments,
Right.
you should take a class on investing.
Right.
So it's just always educating yourself so you can stay up on what's going on in today's society.
Right. Do you find that once people put something on their vision board, that things begin to come into their lives to support that?
Most definitely.
It's amazing how these principles work.
It is amazing. And it comes to light, and they're so excited when they see, and they're called Antoinette. I actually completed my board.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, that was the point.
Right.
Like, that was the point for you to complete the things that you manifested for yourself. That's the goal in life.
Right.
Complete what's in you on the outside.
Right.
And it brings you pure happiness. And it just excites me.
Right. And so you're gradually helping people find out what they love in life.
Yeah.
And what they don't like in
Yeah.
life. And where they want to be.
Yeah.
And by doing it step by step, it doesn't feel so daunting.
Right. Right.
You know, I'm not going to put up there a president of the United States because that might take more than an hour.
Right. Right.
I might want to be that, and I don't, but, you know.
Lord. No. No, we good where we at on the podcast.
That's
then.
right. That's exactly
That's
right.
good. We good where we at. What I've noticed is that, like you said, on the vision board, we are looking at what we really want to see our life at. And sometimes we don't necessarily know what it's like to dream.
Right.
And if you're not a person that's a dreamer, at least you can put it on paper and look at it.
So do you put stretch ideas, make them stretch things out there?
That is a must.
Yes,
right. You have to stretch yourself. Like, I really think I am a billionaire.
Yeah, that's right.
On my vision board right now.
Right.
Like right now.
That's the other thing about a vision board. It makes it real right now.
Right now. Yeah.
Right? Because your brain doesn't think about the future. If you say, next week, I want to be rich, your brain says, okay, whenever next week gets here, but next week never gets here. Yeah. Next week is always next week.
Yeah.
So you have to say, I'm a billionaire right now.
Yeah.
If that's important.
Yeah, it is. Because you are ultimately what you speak of yourself.
Right.
You are. And so what I learned with the vision board is, if I said, like I said, I'm going to Africa. I'm going to Africa now. That was on my vision board 2 years ago, but it's still in my head. I'm going to get to Africa.
Right.
Because I know that's a place I want to go. And most people on that vision board, they may not complete it in the year, but at least half of the vision board is completed.
Right, and then they have stretch goals that really there was no reasonable belief they were going to complete it in a year. Right. But they're on their way to it. Right. They've checked off boxes toward it. Yeah.
Right. And they see themselves bigger.
Right.
That's the whole objective.
Right. And they actually know that one day. But I feel like it right now. But one day that's going to happen. I'm going to get to Africa or wherever their thing is.
One day. One day.
So that is so exciting. So this is your passion, helping people find their passions. Yes. And it manifested to you while you were cutting their hair and whatever else you did. And that is so cool. It's funny how that your vision, your sense of who you are, when you're connected to yourself. Yeah. Right? It's all about being connected. So many people... So I find that people follow the paths that are easy. The one that their mom thinks they should pass, their pastor thinks they should follow, whatever path. And they forget that they should follow their own path. And it's people like Antoinette that can help you find your path, find your passions, find, as I like to say, your superpowers, and find your joy in life. So thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate having you on my podcast.
You're so welcome.
So this is Antoinette Ayers, and tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook under Antoinette Ayers. My website is visualmovements.com, and you can also look for me on Instagram, IG at Netta's Life, NETTASLYFE. Thank you for having me, Ned. I appreciate it.
Very good. I really am happy to have you on. Thank you all very much for joining us, and have a great day. Thank you very much for watching my video podcast, Resetting Your Life. Please subscribe to my channel by clicking on the little button and the bell so that you will be notified when the next episode is posted. Tell all your friends, relatives, and countrymen, and share to your social media if you'd be so kind. I'm told I'm supposed to ask all of you to do that for me. I'd love to have you like my Facebook page, Dead Lips Author, to keep up with my blog posts and writing endeavors. You can read the text of my portion of this program and find more at my blog. You can only get the interviews here, though. Sorry about that. You can find all of my books at my Amazon author page. Please follow me by clicking the button. And after you've read any of my books or listened to them on Audible, please post a review. Thank you again, and I wish you a wonderful life as you explore your passions, exploit your superpowers, and find your joy.